Jim Prentice laces up his skates, anxious to hit the ice. In the midst of a heated PC leadership contest, it's been a while since the former federal cabinet minister has been out for a skate. A hockey rink is far from the corridors of power in the House of Commons or the corporate boardrooms of his former employer, CIBC. But it's on the ice where Prentice learned some early lessons about discipline, competition, and community.
A hockey rink is where Canada happens, right? You know, there's an old saying, to understand Canada, you have to understand hockey. It's true of Alberta for sure also, but you know, it's where it's our national game, it's our national sport. I was raised in small towns, and so, you know, small town Canada, small town Alberta, hockey was everything. So I was raised in a rink.
The game of hockey, Prentice believes, has lessons that can be applied to the blood sport of politics.
Sports, you know, there's a clear connection there, but there's also a connection to politics, and you know, has the same sense of camaraderie, the same sense of teamwork, the same discipline is needed in terms of supporting your teammates. And you know, so my own philosophy in politics is that you know, if I'm the captain of the team, I'll be the leader. I won't ask anybody to do something that I don't do. I'll go in the corners and I'll muck around as much as needs to be done. But you know, when a decision is made by the team to do something, then everybody sticks together.
Like politics, hockey is in Prentice's blood. His father, Eric, played briefly for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the early 1940s as a 17-year-old. Prentice's uncle, Dean, played in the NHL for 22 years. Jim Prentice was born in the northern Ontario community of South Porcupine in 1956, a mining town where his father worked after his hockey career ended. When he was 12, the family moved to Alberta after a new coal mine opened up in Grand Cache. In Alberta, he grew to love the outdoors. In the winter, the rink rat spent hours on the local arena, playing minor hockey and skating for the men's senior team. Prentice's own dream of playing pro hockey ended when he was a teenager and he injured his knee during a tryout for the Toronto Marlies. Instead, he went to university and got a law degree. And in the summer during those years, he worked in the coal mines of southern Alberta.
Yeah, really interesting story, because I've always said that's where I got my education. I didn't get any degrees there, but I did it for 7 you know, summers on my way through university, and it was an experience that really defined me as a person.
Increasingly, he became involved in progressive conservative politics. By 1985, the young lawyer, now married to wife Karen, was helping Don Getty successfully organize his PC leadership campaign in Calgary. That event taught Prentice several lessons about tough party leadership battles.
You know, you get in a leadership race, everything's on the table, right? There's no prize for second place, and everybody's focused on what needs to be done.
The next year, Prentice decided to run for office himself in the inner-city riding of Calgary Mountain View. He was narrowly defeated by NDP candidate Bob Hawksworth. After the setback, and with a young family at home, Prentice decided to leave his political ambitions aside, for the time being. He did, however, remain active in the federal and provincial PC scenes. In 1993, he became the campaign chairman for MLA Rick Orman in the contest to replace Don Getty. Increasingly, however, Prentice was drawn into the orbit of the federal Tory party.
I stayed involved in the politics as a volunteer. I mean, I did everything you could do in a political party as a volunteer. Like I licked my share of stamps and put in my share of lawn signs and did mailings.
In 2003, after Joe Clark stepped down as the Tory party leader, the Calgary lawyer decided to run for the job. With no experience as an elected politician, Prentice was considered a long shot. He finished second to Peter MacKay, who promptly negotiated a merger with the Canadian Alliance to form a new Conservative Party of Canada.
I went in, I was a completely unknown commodity. Nobody in the country knew who I was. Yeah, I thought we could win, and we actually almost did win. It was, you know, I finished second, and as you know, it was one of the most exciting conventions of all time, and really only turned in the final analysis when Peter MacKay made a deal with David Orchard, which was subsequently broken the next morning, and so it left everybody with you know, a bad taste in their mouths, frankly, and you know, I resolved to press on.
In 2004, with his 3 girls grown up, Prentice ran for the Conservative nomination in the federal riding of Calgary Centre North and won. He easily recaptured the seat in 2006 and 2008. By that point, Prentice had been appointed into federal cabinet by Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Prentice served in the portfolios of Indian and Northern Affairs, Industry and Environment, handling files such as the Copenhagen Accord and climate change. In late 2010, Prentice stepped out of politics, saying he'd done his tour of duty. He took a job as an executive with CIBC and actively advocated for the Northern Gateway oil pipeline. In mid-May, with the Alberta PC Party looking for yet another leader, Prentice returned to the provincial scene and announced his own candidacy.
I'm proud to launch my campaign for the leadership of the Progressive Conservative Party of Alberta. So I am running because I believe that Alberta has before it right now an opportunity to achieve great things. Our province is at a pivotal time in its history. I think it needs leadership, I think it needs focus, and I think it needs the agenda that I've described.
Since that day, Prentice has been seen as the front-runner, with virtually all of the Tory cabinet and caucus backing his bid. He's also shown his deep connections with Alberta's corporate community, raising more than $1.8 million for his campaign during the leadership contest. But the perception that Prentice is the establishment candidate could be his Achilles heel, say political analysts.
And certainly he's been seen by the party as the savior. You know, who can rescue us? Who can pull us back to the front? And here's someone who, at least among the party faithful, you know, is seen as unimpeachable integrity, can speak with authority, great experience, and great connections. His greatest strength is also his greatest weakness. So his greatest strength is that he's been embraced by the business community and by corporate Calgary and by the towers. And a lot of people see him as, you know, the money candidate and, you know, the representative of Power Town. And there's a danger lurking, and the danger is that if he becomes defined as the 1%, as kind of an Alberta Mitt Romney, then that becomes very, very dangerous.
Some observers believe Prentice still has his eye on a bigger prize, running to become the next Prime Minister whenever Stephen Harper steps down. Prentice says if he doesn't win the Alberta race, he won't run to become an MLA. But the three-term MP insists that just on the hockey rink, his sole focus is on winning. This time, the PC leadership race to become the 16th Premier of Alberta.
Well, I'll always have a passion for the country. I mean, I love the country. We are the luckiest people on the planet. But my job's in Alberta, and what has to be done here is to get this province back on track.
For CalgaryHerald.com, I'm Chris Varco.